Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday. It is January the 24th, and we are taking a look at the futures after 5 tonight. It is actually a bit after 5. Taking a look at the motion, we've been stagnant until just a few moments ago, where we are trying to bounce once again into resistance. Now, not sure why it's taking my platform so very long to propagate information, but we're just going to roll with it, see what we are looking at in the overnight. Listen, here's what's happening. This area that gives us higher highs, lower lows, and now inside of this region, higher lows and potentially lower highs is building a bit of a diamond pattern. Now, it's kind of a complex pattern, so let's look at a more simple one, and that's going to be this triangle formation, right? Now, there is a notion that says that if this is some sort of pennant, which doesn't actually have quite this shape, but close, we will break in the direction of the pole, which is this. I don't know whether that's true or not. Here's my thought. My thought is I'm not going to use something like that in general just to tell me where it is I need to position. I'm going to notice that everything up here was selling. And the second it stops selling and starts buying, it's going to break out, pull back to these edges somewhere, and then move forward. And the first place it's going to move forward is between 51 and 54. And then after that, we have 63 to 67. Those are our regions that we're going to watch in the overnight. Do I expect price resolution? Essentially, I do. Do I believe that we need a catalyst for that? Yes, I do. And if there's no catalyst, this bounce is going to fall right back into the channel. Absolutely is. This fade action is holding steady. And if it holds steady and I continue to stay above the zero line, I am going to have more bullish motion than bearish motion. Right now, I'm still caught between the moving averages. Overnight, we expect expansion and then contraction. If the expansion's big, you can certainly chase it out, but be on the lookout for selling pressure. That is very likely in this particular environment. Today, we came into 67.10, oh, I don't know, a dozen times, and then faded it fairly sharply. All right, what I'm going to do is, you can see it's cutting through all our levels. So I'm going to remove the guides and then um, delete this trend line so that we can see where we had a ton of price compression. And then let's see, cancel alerts. And we can see that these regions are still very, very important. So we're going to be looking at, can we get up and over the 67.13 tonight, or can we get down and below 66.60? Those are pretty important levels. What are we doing though? Do you see how in this formation, what we're actually doing is sitting on top of this faster moving average right here? We're sitting on top of it. And so if we're sitting on top of this edge, what really we should be thinking about is price resolution to the north. The one fly in the ointment is this downward slope. So it's telling me, although I'm sitting above these moving averages, the moving averages are flat, and because they're flat and with negative drift, I'm going to run into sellers here. The only way this is going to be a buy zone is if it expands and then pulls back and holds the bullish motion. That's the only way it's going to work for this chart. You can see it, low volume profile right here, very likely to move to the north and then reverse. We have, again, a lot of companies still to report, but we are caught in sideways motion. Let's take a look at the YM. The YM also resolving up and over potentially, but once again, we have a flat average. And so that flat average means I'm caught between a range. And I'm going to say that range is 24,265 to 24,705. All right, so here's the thing. What do I know? Well, I know if I get to here, and I bounce a little bit with this kind of negative pressure, I might expand, but I am not going to hold that expansion. This is too flat. That's moving down. There's too much pressure sitting in the area. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't hold the breakout. It'll push through, pull back, and then hold that breakout level. That's what looks like the most interesting event for the overnight if we can push forward. My thought is that we don't, though. My thought is tonight is another snooze fest, and we wait until some kind of levy breaks. If you trade in between these edges, wait for it to pull back, and then take the reversal trade, right? If you go, wow, that stop down here is at 303 or 278. Do I really want to take it at 385? Maybe you don't, right? Maybe you want to use this as your stop. Really is what you're willing to do and what kind of risk opens. I get the feeling the charts want to do better, but we'll just have to see, right? The traders are really trying to resolve, but there's no going anywhere here, and we are sitting well inside of the SPX ranges for broad motion, and that's going to affect the broad motion of the straddle, and that's going to affect how quiet these other guys are as well. What wasn't particularly quiet today was oil. It did a nice job going from the low to the high. It's now sitting up and over this edge, and today it's advancing. Look at where it's sitting, in between two moving averages on the day. If we take a look at it on the 4-hour, it's resolved over the two averages here, but both of them are relatively flat. And so that tells me any big expansion that I have, old support areas particularly, are going to give me rejection zones. Now, do you want to be careful with how you do that? Absolutely. Take a look at this SMI. It is down to flat, and so it tells me I'm still going to see sellers to the north. We're just going to have to be very careful about that one. Let's take a look at gold. It's still sitting in a fairly collapsed zone, holding support. Look at how many times it crossed 78. And now coming into resistance. At this juncture, we're sitting underneath a major moving average and underneath another important moving average that is flat. So we are going to have deep fades, be buy zones. They could be as deep as 1274. Any kind of big spikes, sell zones. Right now, the big spike is only looking like 1282. So again, a tremendous amount of price compression. We really want to be careful there. All right, good luck overnight.